Across America, a new kind of infrastructure is being installed in plain sight. It doesn't look like a prison wall, and it doesn't look like a checkpoint. It doesn't look like the old movie version of a police state where some villain in a uniform demands your papers while searchlights sweep across the street. It looks like a small black camera mounted on a pole. It looks like a license plate reader. It looks like a public safety tool. It looks harmless, ordinary, bureaucratic, and boring, which is exactly how the most dangerous expansions of government power usually arrive. They don't show up wearing jackboots. They show up at city council meeting with a PowerPoint presentation and a grant application, a promise this is just being done for your safety. The company at the center of this debate is Flock Safety and Flock's automated license plate readers that are now a part of a massive and growing surveillance network across the United States. According to the ACLU, Flock itself has described a nationwide network producing more than 20 billion vehicle tracking plate scans every month in more than 5,000 American communities. 20 billion scans every month. This is not a handful of police cameras looking for stolen cars. That's not just one officer checking one plate because he has a reasonable suspicion. This is a national dragnet of ordinary movement built one town, one county, one homeowners association, one police contract, and of course one public safety partnership at a time. And yes, Flock presents these cameras as license plate readers. The company says its system does not use facial recognition, does not collect personal information, and is designed to identify vehicles, not people. Flock also says that its default retention period for license plate reader data is 30 days, after which data is hard deleted from the cloud. That's the official version. This is the comfort language. That's the sentence that everyone is supposed to repeat so the room can move on. But critics are asking a much better question. What happens when vehicle data becomes personal data because the vehicle is tied to a person, a home, a schedule, a job, a church, a doctor, a political event, a school, a bank, a gun store, a campaign office, a courthouse, a pregnancy center, a private meeting? A single plate scan may be just one data point, but 20 billion scans a month is a map of American life, your American life. And once you can map where people go, how often they go there, who they appear near, how long they stay, and what patterns repeat over time, you're no longer merely identifying vehicles, you are reconstructing human behavior. The old surveillance state had to follow you, right? But the new surveillance state waits for you to drive by. And this is why it's just a license plate argument falls short so quickly, at least to me. Your license plate is not some random piece of metal floating through space. It's attached to your car, to your insurance, to your registration, your address, your license, and your daily routine. It's attached to the real life of a real citizen who, in theory, still has constitutional rights. But under this new model, the citizen does not have to be suspected of anything before being logged. The citizen doesn't have to be accused of anything before their data is stored. The citizen doesn't have to be tied to a crime before being added to the searchable memory of the state. You just drove down the road. That was enough. And the public is supposed to accept that because data is allegedly stored for only 30 days by default. But even that reassurance comes with an asterisk. Flock's own product information says the company respects existing license plate reader retention laws and regulations that may differ from 30 days. And it says extended retention can be offered for up to 1 year if a customer seeks approval from an elected official or governing body. Who's the customer? Likely your local law enforcement. So the promise is not really, quote unquote, the data disappears in 30 days. The promise is closer to the data disappears in 30 days unless the rules are different, or the policy changes, or the government asks for longer, or local officials approve it, or the next emergency creates a new exception. Doesn't that feel familiar? Every surveillance tool comes wrapped in limits until the people in power discover how useful it would be without them. And we've already seen why privacy groups are alarmed. The ACLU has described automatic license plate readers as a technology that can photograph thousands of license plates per minute and track the movements of passing drivers. The ACLU also warned that communities should focus on retention, sharing, and use restrictions because those are the pressure points where a local police tool can become a wider surveillance system. Now that's the real issue, not whether a camera can help solve a crime. Of course it can. Look, a hammer can build a house or it can break a window, right? The question is not whether the tool has a lawful use. The question is whether the tool is being placed everywhere, pointed at everyone, connected to then a searchable database, and normalized before the public has even wrestled with what kind of a country this creates. Now, Flock says authorized law enforcement searches require justification and create an audit trail. Again, that sounds reassuring until you remember that an audit trail is not the same thing as a warrant. And an internal justification is not the same thing as probable cause reviewed by a judge. A database search with a typed explanation is not the Fourth Amendment. Okay? A policy manual is not the Constitution. A software permission and the settings of those permissions are not liberty. And the more these tools expand, the more ordinary Americans are forced to live under the presumption of future suspicion. You're not being watched because the government has evidence. You are being watched because someday the government or a partner agency or a private contractor or some future administration with worse motives might want to go back and find evidence against you. Don't believe me? Well, you don't have to take my word for it. Watch this.
We have cameras everywhere in that town. You can't get a breath of fresh air in or out without us knowing.
Chrisanna Elzer learned the power of Flock firsthand.
You were in town from 11:52 until 12:09. Exactly. Like I said, nothing gets in or out of the town without us knowing.
When a Colorado police officer showed up at her door holding Flock snapshots of her truck.
And here's when you left. At 12:09, that's when you left town.
To get?
No, to stop at Ridge Trail.
Wait a minute.
And take a package. Well, there's no shushing. I don't need to be.
I need to know where this is.
The first thing he pulled out on the body cam is that Flock picture, the clear photograph of your car.
But here's your vehicle in the neighborhood many, many times, apparently casing houses, because you just can't drive through for work or visit other businesses. You can only be casing houses.
It is her. It is 100%. It is locked in. There is zero doubt. I wouldn't have come here unless I was 100% sure. 100%. It is certain. It is on video. You're obviously welcome to go to court.
Chrisanna was charged with stealing a package, but it wasn't her. The porch pirate was somebody else. Multiple times you tried to show him your video evidence. He didn't want to see it.
No, even when I called him back, he said, that's not my job.
You looked at a time of a crime. You saw my vehicle entering in the Flock.
No, what I did was I did an investigation.
You called my wife a liar. You said this is back.
I have video evidence. I don't know what you want me to say.
The charges were dropped after Chrisanna spent weeks trying to get the police chief to look at her evidence. Time-stamped video from her truck and a neighbor's doorbell camera showing she wasn't at the scene of the crime. What does it say about where we are that you feel you have to have more cameras than the police have in order to make sure you can prove yourself innocent?
It sounds like it flipped the script to you're guilty until you prove yourself innocent.
You see, that turns privacy upside down. That turns citizenship upside down. That turns the open road into a monitored corridor. And this is where critics raise another concern. The Flock camera may be marketed as a plate reader, but it exists inside a much broader surveillance economy where devices, vehicles, phones, apps, doorbells, smart cars, cloud systems, they're already collecting enormous amounts of behavioral data. Even if a particular license plate reader is not sweeping your phone as you drive by, Americans are not wrong to notice that the surrounding architecture is moving in that direction. The future being built around us is not one camera or one database. It is the linking of everything that can identify, track, score, predict, and control human movement and behavior. Your car is becoming a data collector. Well, it already is. Your phone is already a tracking device with a screen. Your doorbell is a cloud camera. Your bank account is a behavior report. Your medical record is digitized. Your ID is being pushed toward real ID and biometric verification through a variety of safety and security measures that are working on being passed in Washington right now under the guise of safety. We've got more on that in the next segment. Your grocery store has cameras, your workplace has cameras, your child's school has cameras, your neighborhood has cameras, your highway has cameras, and now your local police department may have access to a tool that can search the movements of your vehicle with the speed and efficiency of a customer service chatbot. This is not a conspiracy theory. This is a business model, and business is booming. Think about the scale of data that has to be collected, stored, processed, shared, and searched to make this world work. Flock's reported network of more than 20 billion plate scans a month is just one category. Add video doorbells, police body cameras, traffic cameras. Add vehicle telematics. Add location data from phones. Add facial recognition systems where they are used. Add retail analytics. Add medical systems. Add banking systems. Add smart home devices. Add every cloud-based platform that promises convenience while quietly making privacy feel like an outdated hobby. Then ask the obvious question. Where does all that data go? I would suggest to you this is why the data center boom matters. We're being told that America needs massive data centers everywhere because of artificial intelligence and national competitiveness with China, cloud computing, and the usual magic words that make politicians start nodding like they understand server racks, right? But those giant digital warehouses do not exist in a vacuum. They're being built in a society where every institution, every one of them, is racing to collect, store, and analyze and monetize more information about human beings. The U.S. Energy Information Administration projects that American power use will hit new records, rising from 4,195 billion kilowatt hours in 2025 to this year 4,269 billion kilowatt hours, and 4,399 billion kilowatt hours in 2027, with growth driven in part by AI and data centers. The International Energy Agency projects global data center electricity consumption could roughly double by 2030, reaching 945 terawatt hours. That would be, by that time, about a third of all of America's power, with data center demand growing around 15% per year from 2024 to 2030. This isn't a side issue, okay? That's the physical footprint, all right, of the digital cage, put it that way. In the Rust Belt, Reuters reported that some manufacturers are already feeling the squeeze from power demand tied to data centers. One Ohio brick company saw capacity charges jump from $1,600 a month to $12,000 per month, contributing to a 90% increase in power cost, while capacity prices in the PJM grid region rose from $28.92 per megawatt day in 24 to $329.17 in 2026. I know that's a lot of numbers, but you understand the point here. See, so the same Americans being tracked, scanned, logged, and watched may also get the privilege of paying dramatically higher utility costs to support the infrastructure that stores the data collected about them from data collection technology we didn't vote for and never asked for and don't want. Well, that's a neat little arrangement, isn't it? The citizen funds the government. The government buys the surveillance, right? The private company stores the data. The grid gets strained. The power bill goes up. The politician calls it progress. The tech company calls it innovation. The police department calls it safety. And the citizen is told to stop asking questions because only criminals worry about being watched. That line may be one of the most insulting of all time. Only criminals worry about privacy? Really? Then why did the founders write the Fourth Amendment? Why did they object to general warrants? Why did they understand that a free people cannot live with government rummaging through their lives whenever they want to? The founders were not protecting criminals. They were protecting citizens from a government that would eventually call every limit on power an obstacle to safety. That temptation is not new. Only the technology is new. The moral problem is ancient. Human beings want the knowledge of God without the holiness of God. They want to see everything, record everything, predict everything, and control everything. But we don't possess God's wisdom. Humans don't possess God's justice, God's mercy, His righteousness. We have ambition, we have incentives, budgets, contracts, dashboards, a long history of explaining abuses after the damage is already done. Now, Scripture gives us the proper order. Romans 14:12 says, "So then every one of us shall give an account of himself to God." Every person will answer to God. Every ruler will answer to God. Every judge, every officer, mayor, vendor, governor, senator, bureaucrat, software engineer, every executive will answer to God. No one is exempt because the contract said public safety. No one is exempt because the dashboard had an audit log. No one is exempt because the data was stored in the cloud instead of in a filing cabinet. Now, Hebrews 4:13 says, "Neither is there any creature that is not manifest in his sight." That means there's nothing that God doesn't see. "But all things are naked and opened unto the eyes of him with whom we have to do." God sees everything because God is God. Government doesn't see everything. Government doesn't know everything. Government does not get to imitate omniscience just because technology made the imitation affordable. That's the line. God sees all and he is righteous. The state seeks to see all and is certainly not righteous. A government that truly serves a free people does not need to monitor everyone all the time. It does not need to build a searchable archive of ordinary life. It does not need to normalize suspicionless tracking. Nor does it need to treat the public and the public road like a conveyor belt of data points waiting to be harvested. And a free people should not be bullied into silence every time someone says the word safety. Yes, safety matters. Law enforcement matters. Catching violent criminals matter. How about prosecuting them and not letting them jailbreak? How about that for a law? Finding stolen cars matters. Protecting children matters. Liberty matters as well. And liberty always gets lost when the government convinces the public that every objection to surveillance is an objection to law and order. And of course not. But that's how the walls go up. Not in a dramatic moment, of course, not with a national announcement. It would never happen that way. And certainly not with a cartoon villain explaining their diabolical plan while, the music plays in the background. The walls go up through procurement contracts and grant funding, through pilot programs and homeowners association votes. It goes up through city council approvals and federal partnerships, state mandates, private databases, and cloud storage agreements most citizens will never read. The walls go up while everyone is busy. The walls go up while everyone is tired. The walls go up while everyone is afraid. And then one day we look around and realize the prison was never built to keep us from moving. It was built to make sure that our every movement could be monitored and controlled. So here's the question that we need to answer before the next camera goes up, before the next data center gets approved, before the next digital ID bill gets passed, before the next car becomes a rolling informant, and before the next emergency gives the government another excuse to make the temporary permanent. If every road is watched, every plate is logged, every device is tracked, every purchase is analyzed, every doorbell is networked, if every car is connected, if every identity is digitized and every objection treated like extremism, then what exactly do our leaders mean when they say we are still free? Because freedom is not merely the ability to move from one location that's monitored to another location that's monitored, while a database the database remembers the trip. Freedom is the right to live as a responsible human being under God with privacy, conscience, dignity, and protection from the endless appetite of power that so tempts our rulers. America has to decide whether we are citizens made in the image of God, accountable first to Him, and protected by constitutional limits on our government, or whether we are becoming inventory in a cloud-based empire that calls the cage of convenience necessary for the public good, and that calls all the walls being built around us public safety. And if we wait until the whole thing is already set up, if we wait until it's finished before we object, I guess it wouldn't be that surprising then when the people who build the walls and who build the cages tell us that the exits are already being monitored too.